Startups have unique CRM needs. So, which are the top 10 CRM systems for startups in 2024? That's what we are going to discuss in this video. So, let's dive in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, CRM selection, implementation, and engagement. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be top 10 CRM systems for startups in 2024. To start, we look at the list. Let's define how we define the startup segment and what are going to be their needs and how the systems designed for startups compared to the market segments. Generally, we segment our markets in 4 different categories, and that is going to be your startups, small business, mid-size, as well as large. Startups are going to be companies that are going to have under 20 employees. They are probably going to be under $10 million in revenue. The structure of the organization, it's very different, and that's why they have slightly different needs in terms of the data model, the process model, and for the most part, the majority of the systems designed for startups segment are not going to have a lot of features where you are either going to require expensive help or they are going to be too difficult to use. So the systems designed for a startup segment consider these factors. Startup, for the most part, these companies are going to have very limited consulting budget. So the process and data model is going to be very prescriptive in general. So you might have scalability issues, but that is okay because if they make it too scalable, then you are probably going to need substantial consulting help that startups may not be able to afford. So they are not going to have any sort of complex features in terms of your workflow security or the territory planning, just because that need does not exist in this particular market segment. The criteria that we have used to compile this list is product share, acquisition strategy focused on this market segment. So if any company is investing in the startup market segment, then that particular solution is probably going to rank higher on this list. The product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, technology strategy, as well as the investors. So these are some of the factors that we have considered for this particular list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Agile CRM. And this is a great beginning system for startups when you are looking for the contact management as well as email needs. It's not going to have those complex features. It's not going to be as expensive in general, and the process and data model is going to be simpler. So some of the strengths that you're looking at from the Agile CRM perspective is it is affordable for startups. The overall UI is going to be fairly intuitive, that you would not require consulting help, IT help to be able to configure, manage, and use. And then you are going to have comprehensive capabilities in one solution so that you don't have to acquire as many solutions. Overall, it's not going to be as rich as some of the other suites that we have on this list, but for startup companies, this is not a bad solution at all. Now, the limitations that you are going to run into with Agile CRM is advanced features such as your email templates may not be as robust that you are going to find with systems such as your HubSpot or MailChimp. Those systems are probably going to have richer email templates. The ecosystem integration, especially when you look at some of the upstream marketing integration, those integrations are going to be far more robust with systems such as your HubSpot, Salesforce, etc. So those integrations are not going to be as present, especially when you talk about integrations with your data platforms such as your Zoom Info, Apollo. There might be external integration tools available, such as your Zapier, but natively they are not going to be integrated. So you would need to either invest or you need to figure this out yourself. So that is probably going to be a challenge. And then the solution is not as well documented. And that we see generally with solutions that are not going to be as well invested or popular. They generally don't have as great documentation. And that may be a challenge. If you're implementing this by yourself, then that could be a challenge. Having said that, Agile CRM is a great solution for startup segment. So that's number 10. Now, number 9 on our list is fresh sales. And this is part of FreshBooks portfolio. The majority of the accounting firms, they are trying to acquire one of these email automation CRM solution, and they are trying to club as part of their portfolio. The primary motivation why these companies are doing that is to compete with companies like Zoho or Odoo, just because they have the complete business suite as part of their offering, and that is relatively easier to use. So a lot of businesses are switching to these platforms. So that's a big threat for companies like QuickBooks, FreshBooks, Zero. So they are trying to acquire the simpler email marketing solution, CRM solution for the startups. And now sales would fall under that category. The strengths that you're looking at from the fresh sales perspective, and it's going to be very similar to your Agile CRM. It's just that since it is owned by FreshBooks, so you are going to have slightly richer product in general. The documentation is going to be better. The strengths that you're looking at is the omni-channel campaign management, email, phone, WhatsApp. And generally, you require a lot of these channels in the B2C market segment, especially when it comes to things such as your WhatsApp, just because you are going to be doing a lot more chat-based interactions that you might not do as much in your B2B segments. So that's a unique value prop for fresh sales. They are combining pretty much every single channel, your email, text, chat, etc. Chat might not be available with some of the other platforms. It's also going to be intuitive, and that is a common theme across any systems designed for a startup market segment. And again, this is going to be great for companies that might be implementing this in more of the DIY mode. The limitations that you're looking at from the fresh sales perspective is the permission layers in general are going to be limited, but that is also going to make this solution easy to use because you don't have to manage 100 different permissions. And sometimes because of that, you are going to feel that you have defect in your system, but that could be just the permission issue. So it's this particular limitation is friendlier for a startup segment. The workflow capabilities are going to be slightly limited, especially when you talk about edits on different documents. So those capabilities might not be as robust as you are going to find some of the other solutions. And the advanced capabilities, such as when you look at fonts and font, especially when you look at email marketing, in that you might have very unique font that you want to utilize. Sometimes there are going to be limitations because of that. A lot of solutions, if they are not as customizable, they might not be able to support that. So you are probably going to run into that limitation with fresh sales as well. So that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Insightly. And Insightly is, again, a very small solution, just like your Agile CRM or Fresh Sales. The unique advantage that you're going to have with Insightly is they have a lot more insight component, which is your analytics component that is going to be bundled as part of the solution. So the strengths that you're looking at, some of the custom object and core project object, and this is the theme that you are going to see with a lot of the systems in the market, that they are combining project management capabilities as part of the solution. And the reason why they are combining the project management capabilities these days is because they are trying to compete with solutions such as your Monday.com, Airtable, Smartsheet, as well as ClickUp is going to be another solution that is primarily the project management solution, but now they are trying to move into your CRM market. And with a lot of companies, especially when you look at service-centric companies, they are probably going to require that project management piece tightly correlated, tightly coupled with your CRM processes, especially when you look at the operational CRM process, not the upstream CRM process. So for those use cases, Insightly is going to be a great fit. At least they are providing the core project object, and then you will be able to augment on top of that. In general, the way CRM data model is designed, even for very enterprise grade CRMs, they struggle with the custom object functionality. And the reason why they struggle is because the way your CRM data model was designed is they tried to flatten the data model. And the reason for that is because if you have too many layers, it becomes very complex. And that's why companies generally hate, or people generally hate, ERP systems, because it has just too many layers. It could be very complicated to be able to implement. So that's why what CRM systems have done is they have simplified the data model. And this simplification is going to be a lot more prevalent in the startup space, just because they are trying to design a system for companies that might not have as much experience, expertise with relational data modeling. So in general, the CRM data model is very limited. And with this, you are still going to see the same limitations even more with your custom objects, even though they are claiming that they have the custom object capability. The analytics is going to be part of this. So this is very unique with Insightly. And then the system is going to be very intuitive. And that is a huge plus for the startup segment. The limitations that you are looking at is the integration issues. So the ecosystem is not going to be as well adopted. You are probably going to find a lot of integration issues. That's what users have reported in forums. The ecosystem is going to be fairly limited as well. Cheaper, generally the solution is cheaper, but might be perceived as expensive for startups. And the consumption-based pricing that they have, that might be harder to estimate. And sometimes that might be more expensive as well compared to other solutions. So that's number 8. Now, number 7 on our list is Keep. And Keep is a very simplified solution, just like the previous 3. And it is going to have very similar design philosophy. And that's why it is suitable for the startup segment. The strengths that you're looking at more from the HIPAA compliance, so especially if you are going to be in the healthcare space, and if you are keeping some of that patient data, if you are keeping the interactions of those patients. In general, the physician workflows are probably going to be in the EHR system, but these days, even healthcare companies are trying to improve the customer experience, the patient experience. So they are trying to implement the CRM. So this is going to work in tandem with your EHR system. But even in this case, your CRM is probably going to contain some of the patient information. For that, you need HIPAA compliance. So there are very few systems in the market. HubSpot just launched the HIPAA capabilities, but Keep is going to have that. So that's a huge plus for Keep. Workflows are going to be there, but depending upon how detailed those workflows are, for the most part, even the smaller systems such as your MailChimp have decent workflows. But when it comes to slightly more advanced capabilities, for example, when you look at sequencing those workflows or segmenting those workflows on when you have to do the branching logic across those workflows, those capabilities might be limited in the smaller systems. So those are the limitations that you are going to see even with Keep as well. The funnels, etc., is probably going to be a strength. You can build very complex funnels in general with Keep, so that's not going to be a problem. The limitations that you're looking at is especially the data apps, or when you look at the integrations with other CMS providers. For example, let's say if you are integrating this with your DEM providers or search providers, nowadays you have a lot more players overall in your marketing tech stack. So when you need to integrate with all of those, there are going to be some integrations, but the ecosystem is not going to be as rich, and you might not find direct integration. Obviously, iPasses such as your Zapier are always going to be there across the solution. Here, when we look at the native capabilities, we are looking at whether anybody has the direct integration or not. Now, when you look at the overall object hierarchy, it is very contact centric. And in general, when you are going to have a CRM that is very contact centric, generally it lacks the B2B hierarchies that you are going to require with complex company structure, customer master. So this is very contact driven CRM, but the majority of the CRMs that you are going to have in the startup space, they are going to be probably that. Again, just because they are trying to simplify the structure. So, and the other limitation that you are going to run into with Keep is the landing page builder might not be as robust or detailed as you are going to find with the other solutions. So that's number 7. Now, number 6 on our list is Salesforce Essentials. And Salesforce is a slightly bigger platform in general. The kind of security permission layers that you're going to have, for the most part, you would probably require consulting help to be able to set up, to be able to use the platform. In general, Salesforce is designed to be a highly customizable platform for many different industries. It has pre-baked objects for many different industries, and there are many solutions that are built on top of your Salesforce platform in general. So it's a very robust platform. Now, in the startup segment, you probably don't need those capabilities because they are going to make it overly complex. That is going to increase your implementation budget. They are probably going to be harder to use. But the approach that Salesforce has taken, and this is the similar approach that some of the other companies have taken as well. For example, Zoho has launched a new product, or I don't know whether they have acquired, but they have a new product dedicated for the startup segment. Similarly, your Salesforce Essentials is going to be a completely different product compared to the enterprise product that you are going to get. So the challenges that you are looking at, so even though from Salesforce perspective, the look and feel is going to be very similar, so you might not feel the difference when you are going to be using either the startup segment product or the other product. But the databases are completely separate, meaning the product model is completely separate. So tomorrow, let's say if you have to migrate from your Essentials to your enterprise product, you are looking at substantial consulting dollars, and that might be even challenging to be able to migrate. So even though you are getting Salesforce, but this is not the same Salesforce that you are going to get in the enterprise segment. So the strengths that you're looking at from the Salesforce perspective is, number one, the interface is same as I have already mentioned. So at least the look and feel, you are not going to have change management issues when you outgrow this solution. The challenges are going to be more technical in nature, but at least from the change management learning adoption perspective, people are not going to resist as much if you outgrow this and you have to move to your enterprise version. You might lose all of your customizations. You need to rebuild all of those, whatever wiring you may have done on your old product. So you need to plan all of that. And that could be substantially expensive, even though initially you are probably not paying as much for the Salesforce Essentials version. Now, you are still going to have a lot of custom objects that are going to be included as part of your Salesforce Essentials. So the customizability is there. That's not going to be a problem. The other report and list builder is included, which is fairly robust. The challenge that you are going to run into with Salesforce, the report module is completely different from your list. And sometimes you're going to have limitations with both of those. The reports are going to be able to retrieve a lot more records. Lists are going to have their own limitations. So these two are completely disconnected overall from the model perspective. And depending upon the use case for what purpose you're using, in general, you are going to use report for one-off analysis, or you are not going to be using them as frequently as your list. List generally you use to be able to make calls for your operational workflows. The reports are going to be just to analyze the study after the fact, once your transactions are processed, once you have captured all of those interactions. So that's going to be a real difference. So that is going to be slightly more disconnected inside your Salesforce platform. The limitations that you're looking at is when you look at the complete suite. So even though this is a great operational CRM, but when you look at the marketing automation capabilities, so they have a Pardot, a product that they have acquired, but for the most part, the experience is not going to be as embedded. Even though your marketing automation platform is very rich, they have even the enterprise capabilities, but overall the integration, the embeddedness with the core Salesforce object, the CRM object is not there as you are going to find with some of the other solutions such as your HubSpot. So that's going to be a limitation. And the integrations might not be as intuitive as you might find with the other platforms, where you can simply click and go through a bunch of steps, and you might be able to integrate tools from the marketplace. That experience may not be as intuitive with Salesforce, and you will most certainly require some consulting help to be able to set up, just because this is slightly more complicated platform. Depending upon your skills, expertise, most companies would probably require that. So that's number 6. Now, number 5 on our list is HubSpot CRM. And the reason Salesforce and HubSpot don't rank as number 1 on this particular list is primarily because of the consulting dollars that you are going to need in the startup segment. So these tools might not be the best fit for the startup segment, even though they are going to have richer capabilities. So with HubSpot, the way the tool is designed, it's really designed for those upstream marketing activities. That's where they have a lot more ecosystem integration. It's really rich when you are looking at combining all of your marketing channels, whether you look at your email, your text, whether you look at any of the ad-centric channels, social media channels, all of those channels you can combine and as part of one model, and then you can use your marketing automation plus CRM as part of the same product. But the limitation that you are going to have with your HubSpot is that the CRM data model is not as robust. It's not as customizable in general for your operational scenarios. It's a great fit for your upstream scenarios. And the reason for that is because in that, you don't require as much relational data model or the custom object model. So that's where HubSpot is not a great fit. But if your primary goal is going to be for those upstream marketing activities, whether you are integrating with some of the other marketing technologies that might be present in the upstream marketing world, that's where your HubSpot is going to be a great fit. The strengths that you're looking at, one tool to centralize all of your customer channels, and you are looking at the end-to-end traceability across all of your channels. That's where HubSpot really shines. The ecosystem as well as integration, they are going to be fairly robust with HubSpot. And the CMS options, so HubSpot has its own CMS. They have their own HubDB. So that's a huge plus. Let's say if you want to build a very custom, sophisticated website, but then the ecosystem is not going to be as rich as your WordPress. So you might gain some features if you are going to use HubSpot CMS, but you might lose some from the ecosystem perspective, just because the CMS ecosystem for HubSpot is not as developed. But overall, you are not going to find challenges. Let's say if you're using simple HubSpot forms or pop-ups on some other CMS, that might be your favorite. That's not going to be a challenge with HubSpot CRM. The limitations that you're looking at from HubSpot perspective is the data model, again, is not as friendly for complex operational use cases. So industries such as your not-for-profit public sector, where you are going to require a lot more relational data to be able to accommodate all of your customer-centric workflows, as well as the operational interactions, as well as transactions. For those scenarios, HubSpot may not be a great fit. And overall, the customizability is very limited. We run into issues when we look at HubSpot core model in sending very simple error messages. So customizability is just not there. If you're looking for very prescriptive CRM, then HubSpot could be a great fit, even though they are going to have the custom objects. You can create those, but those custom objects have substantial limitations when it comes to the parent-child hierarchy, etc. Now, HubSpot CRM, the limitation that we have with HubSpot is it might be too difficult as well as expensive for startups, even though they have pre-plan and you might be able to use it for free. But the way their pricing model works is they are charging much higher once you have acquired the basic layers, and soon you are going to need more. For example, let's say if you are using product, or if you are using any sort of sequences, workflows, those advanced capabilities, they charge far higher. That's how they are able to fund the premium model for the initial version that they have. So from their perspective, the premium model is really the lead generation tool. That's how most companies really sign up for HubSpot. But that could be a great fit for startups. If you have really basic needs, it's not a bad option at all that you might be able to get it for free. So that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is Monday.com. And Monday.com primarily a project management tool, but they have some of the CRM capabilities as well. You're going to find a lot more templates for CRM. Some companies are already using it as CRM. So one of the advantages that you have with Monday.com is they have boards, and boards are very similar to the way your Trello boards were. So now you can change the perspective. You can see the same information in the form of a board, in a list, or any other form, for example, calendar. So you have all of those capabilities natively built as part of the platform. The purpose of the platform is to serve many different use cases across the company, whether you are looking at HR workflows, project management workflows, or CRM workflows. So overall, CRM capabilities are going to be substantially limited. You are not going to find all of those capabilities. For example, let's say if you need the landing page builder, yes, it is going to have the form builder, but it is not the same as your landing page builder, the kind of capabilities that you will find with your tools such as your HubSpot. The other stance that we are looking at from the Monday.com perspective is, let's say if your goal is to manage simple funnels, lead management, opportunity management, all of those can be customized, greatly customized. But when you look at those upstream marketing capabilities, those are the ones that are going to be substantially limited, even though you are going to have the technical capabilities. For example, let's say if you need to integrate with other platforms, you will be able to do that with Monday.com. The overall ecosystem is going to be substantially prevalent, but if you look at the percentage of ecosystem, how penetrated that is with the marketing tech stack, they are not going to be as many as what you are going to find with tools such as your HubSpot. But for startups, it could be a great system if they are looking for very simple transactional, operational centric CRM system to be able to manage their leads, opportunity, etc. And then they need to combine this with your project as well to have that interconnectivity. For those use cases, Monday.com could be a great fit. The limitations that you're looking at is even though it's a great starting system, the relationships are not as relational. For example, connecting those boards are not necessarily connected with each other. Yes, there are some provisions, but they are not as embedded as you would want in your relational relationships, especially if you're going to have very complex operational workflows. And in some industries, we see that even the startups are going to have very complex relational workflows. So they might not be enterprises just yet, but they are all going to require those capabilities, whether they are managing the interactions with your property managers or building managers. So all of these service companies are probably going to require a lot more complex relationships to be able to capture all of their customer interactions. And the other limitations that we have is upstream focused marketing integration. They are going to be substantially limited, and that omni-channel marketing traceability that you are going to get with tools such as your HubSpot is probably not going to be there. So that's number 4. Now, number 3 on our list is Zendesk Sell. So Zendesk Sell is a very similar platform for startups as your Insightly or your Fresh Sell. So it's going to have very similar capabilities. So it's great fit for companies that are going to be on Zendesk for customer service, because you are going to have at least some integration between these two tools. And for the most part, let's say if you manage your customer service workflows, and for the most part, this is going to be in places such as your technology, media, and some of the retail companies as well. They might be the other customer complaints, especially in the post-sales phase, as the case. And for those, they are going to use Zendesk. So now the others acquired a new CRM called Base CRM, and that's how they are able to provide the CRM capabilities as well. So overall, the strengths are going to be very similar to the CRMs that are focused on the startup segment. The interface is going to be highly intuitive. It's going to be easy, inexpensive implementation. But the limitations that you're going to run into is the users have reported that sometimes it is glitchy. So you might want to use it for some time, speak to the users, the kind of glitches that they are getting while using. Sometimes those glitches could be because of integrations, customizations. So the platform cannot be blamed for that, but you still want to research a little bit more. And then the sales platform as well as your support platform are not as well integrated. It is very similar integration model as your Salesforce between your marketing automation and your CRM. With Salesforce, Zendesk Sell integration is going to be fairly similar. They are literally exchanging a field as opposed to having that immersive integration as part of that. The marketing automation capabilities are going to be fairly limited as well, and the advanced CRM capabilities for the most part, the startups are probably not going to require those, but they are not going to be there with the tool just because they are trying to simplify the model. So that's number 3. Number 2 on our list is Pipedrive CRM. And Pipedrive CRM, again, is a very similar CRM as your Zendesk Sell. It is designed for very simpler use cases for startup companies that are maintaining this more in the DIY mode. The strength that you're looking at the workflow automation, which users report that they have sophisticated capabilities in general with respect to workflow automation, but they might not be as rich as what you are going to find with HubSpot. The look and feel is very similar to HubSpot, and the customization of reports and goal setting, etc., is going to be a great feature as part of your Pipedrive solution. The limitations that you're looking at, the data structure is weak for your B2B startups. And that is the challenge that we see across the board for simpler systems. They are not going to have those relational data layers that you are probably going to require in B2B scenarios. The data export and import functionality, that is, again, another limitation that we generally see in these smaller systems. So that is going to be there with your Pipedrive CRM as well. The customizability is going to be substantially limited. Again, this is designed for very simple scenarios. So that's number 2. Now, number 1 on our list is Zoho Begin. And this is for companies that are looking for very easy to use CRM. So with Zoho Begin, the strengths that you're going to get is, number 1, the process model, the data model is very similar to the other tools that are positioned in the startup segment. And so this is the Zoho's startup solution, but they are going to have slightly richer solution for your small and mid-market segment. And that is going to be slightly more customizable. It's going to have a lot of workflow security that you are probably going to require in those spaces. So that's why the Zoho main solution is not fit for startups. Zoho Begin is probably a better fit just because of the simplicity of the data as well as process model, so that you can implement this more in the DIY mode. The consulting help you might not require as much, but again, there are going to be limitations as well because of the simplicity. So the strengths that you are looking at is super easy to use. It's probably going to be affordable, and then integration with other Zoho apps. So even though this is a beginning platform, but they are still offering some of those integrations with the other Zoho platforms, and that's a huge plus, especially the companies that might not be ready to go on an ERP system. At least what you are getting is you are getting all of these apps as part of the same portfolio. So rather than being on QuickBooks, where the only thing you are probably going to get just the accounting solution and maybe now CRM marketing automation. So here you are going to get a lot more. You can cross-pollinate your processes such as your CRM to project management to your marketing automation to your HR. So all of those capabilities are going to be there as part of Zoho suite. The limitations that you're looking at is the solution is not as customizable, inflexible. Again, it is because they are trying to make it simple. So it's not necessarily a limitation, but you will run into issues if your goal is to customize a lot. So for that, this might not be the best fit. You might want to go for the bigger tool from Zoho portfolio or maybe another CRM. The integration as well as the ecosystem may require an external tool such as your Zapier, and they are not going to have as many native integrations, and the user profiles and security options are not going to be as many. But in the startup segment, you probably don't need that. So that's number 1. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include the link of a detailed article that is going to have much deeper intel. So you might want to check that. Also, if you have not checked our digital transformation report for 2024, you might want to do that. We are going to include the link of that as well. We publish these videos on a weekly basis. So like and subscribe on YouTube. This podcast is also available on Spotify and Apple. So you might want to check there and subscribe if you like. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.